Peace, family. It's your brother Marc Lamont Hill. Welcome to the Marc Lamont Hill official YouTube channel. Back again, one more time tonight. We've been putting up content all day, and we are absolutely still going. Unfortunately, it's not the kind of content I like to put up, but it's the kind of content that we have to put up. Israel's war on Gaza has reached day 143. The war on Gaza is at day 143. Every day, as always, we're going to cover it. We're going to cover every bit of content, every bit of video footage, every bit of data, every policy development, every claim made by an official, whatever is relevant to help us understand the gravity, the urgency of this moment, we're going to do. And so that's why we're here every single night. I want to thank everybody for coming through. I want to shout out some of the family who are in the building. Of course, we got Bullet the Bunny always here. I appreciate you. You like that? Y'all like that intro? I've had it forever, man. I don't use it too often. Still, I pop it up when I do debates and stuff. I may need to update it. But yeah, that intro, I like it. See Shoutout coming through in the building again. Shouting out to people who are Marc Lamont Hill family members who have joined the channel. Again, I would love for y'all to using that hustle money. That's funny. Baby K, shout out to you. Sustenance Bloom. All these people have joined the channel. They are Marc Lamont Hill official channel members. I appreciate y'all for making the commitment to subscribing and becoming members of the channel. So everybody, make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, let the algorithms know you rock with us, and of course, hit the join button, become a monthly subscriber to the channel. Ibn Himyati asked if we're going to talk about Aaron. I am not necessarily in this Gaza update because I want to focus on what's happening over there, but I'm going to talk about what it means to resist in this way. I'm going to talk about, and for those that don't know, we're talking about the Air Force member, this serviceman who set himself on fire and ultimately died from the injuries in the hospital in protest of what's happening in Gaza. We're going to talk about it. Mazia, shout out to you also being a part of the Marc Lamont Hill official channel. I'm glad you love the intro, Hanan. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Rachel Lee given a quote that kind of puts into context what Aaron Bushnell did. Shout out to you, Nivea DiVincenzo. My brother Abdul Masoud, shout out to you, love to you. Shout out to Baby K, shout out to Blarg. I want to thank all y'all for supporting the channel and really being a part of what we're doing. We're going to get started though, because it's really important that we talk about what's happening during Israel's war on Gaza. The numbers keep piling up. I wish they weren't, but they are. As of today, at least 29,782 people have been killed in Gaza since October 7th. At least 70,043 Palestinians have been injured since October 7th. We say at least, not just because it's a rough number, but because there are more than 8,000, maybe 9,000 now, certainly at least 8,000 people sitting under rubble. They are literally sitting under rubble. And so that 29,000 is probably more accurate, 35 to 37,000. When we get to the number of children under there, we're over 13,000 kids killed. 2/3 of the death toll is comprised of women and children. There's so many numbers we could give. I don't want to stay there. I don't want to linger in that place, but I do want to talk about what's happening. I want to talk about what's happening in a very clear way. The reason why 30,000 people are dead is not just it's an unfortunate part of war, which is what they'll have you think. It's not just because Hamas is on the ground in a densely populated area. This is targeted. Every day I come out here and give you information about Israel's war on Gaza, not war in Gaza, not war against Hamas, not against Palestine, not against Palestine, none of that. This is a war on Gaza. They don't have to kill all these people. There are alternative ways, but they're not doing them. Why? Because fundamentally, ultimately, there are days, man, where this is overwhelming. I can only imagine how it feels for my Palestinian brothers and sisters. I'm not a victim here. I'm just sad as I stand in solidarity with you. This is tough. Some people asked about Mansour. I'm glad you asked because his brother, who's a journalist, has been missing, and there was a lot of conversation about whether or not he'd been killed. Some of the questions were like, okay, he's at the border, is it real? Is this fake news? But Mansour Shulman, to my knowledge, is safe and cared for. So let's alhamdulillah, if it's true, let's find value in some bright spot in the midst of all this craziness and messiness and violence. Anyway, I'm going to start with a couple of things. The Israeli military shelled and fired on crowds of Palestinians in Gaza City, killing 10 people. 10 Palestinians were killed in Gaza City after Israeli military shelled and fired on the crowd. Now, you might say, was this a radical protest? Was this a terrorist meetup? No. This was Palestinians waiting for food trucks to arrive. They were literally queued up, literally lined up, waiting for food when they got killed. And this isn't the first or the second or the third time we've heard this story. People are waiting for food or even getting food when the Israeli military opens up, and then they either say it was an accident or they say, oh, well, there were terrorist ties in the middle of that crowd, and if we hadn't shot or bombed, we'd have another tragedy on our hands. This is the kind of stuff that people say. It's not true. That's what they say. At least 15 people were injured in addition to the 10 people who were killed. Again, in Gaza City, 10 people killed while waiting for food trucks. 15 people got injured. It actually happened on a coastal road in northern Gaza City, the north part of Gaza City, on Sunday evening. And they transferred the people to Al-Shifa Hospital. Now, I'm glad that at Al-Shifa Hospital because, there are doctors there, there's trained staff there, etc. But I want you to get a sense of how unsafe the journey must be. Imagine starving. There's famine all over. So you're starving and you're waiting for an aid truck to give you food because you've been starved by the Israeli state. And then while you're waiting for it, the truck that you need because you've been starved gets shot by the Israeli military, which is trying to ethnically cleanse you. And then you go to the hospital, in this case, Al-Shifa. And when you get to the hospital, you got to worry about military attacks, bombs, not so surgical strikes. Somebody may pretend to be a doctor and kill you. Someone may pop out of a basement and shoot you. So you're facing so many levels of uncertainty, of fear, of trauma. There's just no good answers there. Shout out to you, Mansour Rahman, for joining the channel. We appreciate you. We're grateful. Another story that I talked about yesterday that I want to revisit is that a 2-month-old baby died of hunger in Gaza. Now, this isn't the first baby that's died of hunger. We saw a baby die in a hospital yesterday because we didn't have the resources in the hospital to protect her life. But now we have a 2-month-old baby dying of hunger in Gaza. Babies don't eat that much. They eat often, but they don't eat that much. But the fact that there's not enough access to food for a 2-month-old baby to have nourishment, mothers can't nurse if they don't have access to food. People are eating chicken feed. Parents are going days without food to be able to feed their children. And this is the fear. This is the thing that is so terrifying about this all, is that it's not just an ideological battle. It's not just a political war. It has a material consequence every single day on the Palestinian people. Photos and testimonies have documented the Israeli army targeting 2 Palestinian sisters, killing one of them as they searched for food on farmland in Beit Lahia in the northern Gaza Strip. Again, as I told you, the famine is dense. The famine is crazy tight. It's crazy tight. There's 1.5 maybe now, 1.4, 1.5 million people in Rafah. It's only supposed to hold 250,000 people. It's tight down there. It's dangerous. When you get to the north, it's less dense, but there's more famine. There's more state violence in some ways. There's all kinds of things happening in the north. And one of them happened in Beit Lahia. Again, photos and testimonies are documented that the Israeli army targeted 2 Palestinian sisters, killing one of them. Anyway, the Israeli War Cabinet has approved a military plan for providing humanitarian assistance in the Gaza Strip. So Israel is now attempting to say, look, we're providing humanitarian assistance. Why? Well, because the world is paying attention. The world feels like they look crazy because, well, what they do look crazy right now in terms of their military approach. This is wildly disproportionate and illegal. And the International Court of Justice, of course, on January 26th, demanded that Israel provide a report. And they have to document what they're doing. And so maybe having a military plan to provide humanitarian assistance is part of the public branding or rebranding of Israel, which I don't think is going to work as long as there are 30,000 people dead and nothing being done about it. Meanwhile, an Israeli military offensive in Gaza's southernmost city, again, it's Rafah, could be, quote, delayed somewhat if a deal is reached for a weeks-long truce between Israel and Hamas. That's according to Netanyahu. Netanyahu wants to invade. He just wants to do it with the approval of the world. On October 8th, he had that approval. But over time, as we watched the death toll mount, as we watched babies get hurt, as we've seen all the, it's just, yeah. We can't wait. We can't wait. We have to stop this thing now. We have to have a ceasefire now. Not the Netanyahu strategy of, we'll be delayed a little bit, and then in a month or 2 months, when everything is peaceful, you'll see another provocation. No, we're talking about right here, right now. This must stop. Again, I mentioned this, but I want to mention again. On January 26th, the International Court of Justice, the ICJ, gave Israel 1 month to submit a report to the court on all measures taken to give effect to its order on the genocide case brought by South Africa. I want to say that again. A month ago, literally a month ago today, the ICJ gave Israel a month. They gave them until today to, quote, submit a report to the court on all measures taken to give effect to its order in the genocide case brought by South Africa. So basically they're saying, look, Israel, we're not saying you did it, but it is plausible that you did it. We're telling you not to do anything else. And the things specifically that we're telling you not to do are genocide by definition. And we want a monthly report of your activities. I mean, this is a lot. But when I say it's a lot, I mean, the ask is not unreasonable, but Israel will comply at the beginning, but I think at some point they're going to resist. Israel's been very consistent in saying we don't trust the UN, we don't trust UNRWA, we don't trust the ICJ, we don't trust Amnesty International, we don't trust Human Rights Watch, we don't trust B'Tselem, we don't trust Al-Haq, we don't trust Al-Damir, they can go down the list of places, we don't trust Idala. And so when you don't trust anybody who's critical of you, and you can create enough smoke, it can look as if you're being targeted when in fact you're just being held accountable like everybody else. This is the This is the challenge. And of course, the final day of public hearings were today on the ICJ case, not the one from a month ago about genocide, but a separate ICJ case that deals specifically with Israel's occupation of the Palestinian territory since 1967, what some people mistakenly call Judea and Samaria, what some people call the Gaza Strip in the Golan, and all these areas have been occupied illegally by Israel at one time or another, and some of them continue to be illegally occupied, even by the most rigid of definitions, such as the West Bank. So 52 nations took Israel to court about this illegal occupation. Again, I don't know how it's going to turn out. I suspect it's not going to be successful, but the world is awake. The world is paying attention, and that's a victory. In the United States, we know about Aaron Bushnell, who live streamed himself on Twitch wearing fatigues and declaring that he, quote, would not be complicit in genocide. And he lit himself on fire. Again, I know you all know this, but I can't ignore it, and someone asked me to talk about it. He was an active U.S. military service member, and he wanted to protest what was happening in Gaza. And he did it in front of the Israeli embassy in Washington, D.C. Man's 25 years old, Aaron Bushnell. He live streamed himself on Twitch. He was wearing fatigues. He was marking himself as a military person. And he said very publicly that he, quote, would not be complicit in genocide. And then he doused himself in liquid. And he set himself on fire while yelling "Free Palestine." And he yelled "Free Palestine" literally into the moment he died. This is awful, and I don't know how to make sense of it. Some people on the right, of course, are saying, "Oh, he's a mental patient." Da 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 da. People never say that when it's your person who does some dramatic act like this. They're a patriot. They're a hero. They're a freedom fighter. They're a shaheed. They're a martyr. But when Arabs do it, it's something else. We have to talk through it, unpack that. When Arabs do it, they're terrorists and they're crazy and they're not well. Who else would set themselves on fire? And then when an American like Aaron does it, it's like, oh, the terrorists got to him. Same thing with Africans, same thing with Latin Americans, whatever. It's something I need to think about, both from a mental health standpoint and from an ethical standpoint. I just don't know what right looks like on that point. I want to remind you all that Israel has not stopped its campaign of domination and settler colonialism in the West Bank at the same time that this imperial war against Gaza is happening. Israeli forces have erected a tower and placed surveillance cameras on it at the western wall of Al-Aqsa Mosque in East Jerusalem. That's necessary, y'all. I don't know if anybody has here on this live has spent time at Al-Aqsa Mosque, but it's cool if everything is cool. But when it's not cool, tensions get tough. Tensions get intense, rather. Typically, in my experience, it's settlers coming to provoke the Palestinians who live there. It's settlers who come in. I remember one day I was standing there in Al-Aqsa Mosque, and I've just watched settlers come and harass people, make fun of key religious figures, sort of just do a lot of provocative stuff, hoping to get a reaction. And on good nights, what I just described is what happens. On bad nights, you have towish, you have fights, battles, and it gets ugly. And so the fact that Israel is creating a tower and placing surveillance cameras at the Western Wall, what that means for religious sanctity, what that means for privacy, what that means for all those things. I want to think through everything here. But at the end of the day, Israeli forces have placed a tower and place surveillance cameras, and it's not to keep the peace. It's to surveil its colonized subjects. It's to make sure that Palestinians don't act too free, don't do too much, don't have too much joy, don't organize politically. It's a control mechanism. And this report comes as the Israeli government is expected to place restrictions on worshipers trying to pray, at Aqsa during the month of Ramadan, which should start in 10 days. Approaching Ramadan, family, March 10th. It'll be very interesting to see. One more piece of news that I think is super important that has been getting buried is that Israel plans to build more than 3,300 new homes in settlements in the Israeli-occupied West Bank in response to a fatal Palestinian shooting attack. The decision grew an angry response from the U.S. at a time of growing tensions. So, I mean, look, Biden's over this. Biden hates what Netanyahu is doing. He hates the settlement expansion. He hates the fact that this war has turned into a genocide. The issue here is not who sees the problem. The issue here is who has the political will and the courage to stand up to it. That's always our challenge. Anyway, y'all, I'm gonna let y'all go. I'm gonna go to sleep. But I wanted to shout y'all out. Wanted to give y'all some breakdowns of what's going on. If you haven't supported the channel, please feel free to. If you have, thank you so much for your generosity and for your mercy and for your grace. But if you are interested in doing so, hit the like button right now. It doesn't cost you a thing. Hit the subscribe button. Also doesn't cost you a thing. Just means that you are committed to us and committed to the work we do on this channel. Feel free to support us through Cash App as well. MLHTV. Go to Cash App, MLHTV, or hit the join button and just become a monthly subscriber to the channel. No matter what level you choose, we're grateful for it, and we appreciate you. I want to again thank everybody for joining us. Baby K says, rest up and listen to some music to de-stress your mind. That is the plan, literally the plan. I appreciate you. I appreciate everybody on here. God bless you. Good night.